Really grateful, Elaine, you could be here. And to introduce Elaine, I mean, I suppose there's a number of areas I could talk about in terms of you being an executive coach and a coach supervisor. I mean, our connection came through the Coaching Supervision Academy, where you used to lead their diploma courses. You're also a reflective thinking partner, and you wrote a great book around executive reflection as well for leaders. You're a writer. And I know you're going to reference today the book Reflect to Create. And I was talking earlier to you saying what a generous book it is for coaches in terms of the exercises, etc., that are in there. But we're really grateful you're here. So I'm going to say about the session in a moment, but just, really pleased you could make the time today.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and thank you to everybody for making the time to join us today. It's just lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. So the session today is creativity in coaching, and I know Elaine has got some reflections on that in a short while when I pass over to Elaine. But one of the questions and reflections that I see from coaches training with us, but also in supervision, is often the challenges in bringing more creativity into the coaching process. So that was I suppose the catalyst for me connecting with Elaine to invite her for this session today and to share some of her experiences around this work as well. So I suppose hearing that, Elaine, I wonder if there's any initial reflections you would like to sort of share with the group about, I suppose, some of the interferences that may get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, my starting point is that coaching is already creative and that it is already a creative practice. And so it's kind of how we enter the work that is really, really important. And the good news is that we are all already creative. And that might have got knocked out of us. We might have forgotten that spark. We might have been too busy. We might be overwhelmed. And the question for us all is how we can connect back into our own innate creativity in order to offer that to our clients and into our work. So the good news is we already have it.
So just say a bit more, Elaine, in terms of that piece of the reconnection, that sort of contact with it before the clients.
Yes, well, if I can just show some slides, please, and then we can go from there. So my big opening is that, as I said, coaching is already creative, and the good news is that we are already naturally creative. It's already part of our inheritance and is part of our birthright. And therefore, the invitation to us as coaches and people practitioners is to look at creativity and own our creativity as a way of being rather than a doing. And I think the coaches I've worked with sometimes think, oh, how do I do creativity? How do I bring creative practices into the conversation in a natural, seamless way? And I really want to turn that on its head and say it's around a way of being. It's who we are is how we work, and who we are is how we create. And so I really want to take the pressure off us all with this big label of what does creativity mean? And we do not have to be artists, whatever that means for you, in order to be creative. It's already here. And in fact, us just turning up today, us making the time, what you've chosen to wear, what you might be eating now as you're watching this webinar, they are all mini acts of creativity that we are all choosing to do minute by minute every day of our lives. And we might not think of it as creativity, but I'm inviting you to actually think of it as a creative act. How we reply to that email, how we say good morning, how we start to contract, all of that is moving into that creativity piece. And as Damion kindly referenced with my book, Reflecting to Create, when I did my research for my MA, what I discovered at a meta level was that, yes, reflection is all about how we typically might associate our work with helping people at crossroads, helping people develop self-confidence or leadership presence or whatever. But at a meta level, what I discovered was that actually reflection is an act of creativity. And therefore, our work and our coaching conversations are acts of creativity. And by creativity, I came to define that as either bringing something new into the world, whether it's a new way of being or a new way of relating or a new idea, or it's around reshaping what already exists, and or it could actually be stopping what we're already doing because it no longer serves. So everything we almost look at is actually an act of creativity. And it really depends, as that lovely native story was, which wolf do you want to feed? What do you really, really want to pay attention to? Because the more you pay attention to your own creativity, the more creativity will come into your life. And as Maya Angelou beautifully said, you can't use up creativity. The more you do it, the more you have. And it's like a wonderful, vicious, virtuous circle, not a vicious circle, a virtuous circle. So the more you have, the more you give, and the more you give, the more you have. And it's this beautiful, beautiful circle of giving and receiving. So part of this is really about reclaiming our creativity, if you're with me so far. If you're happy with the concept of what I'm saying, or if you're struggling with it, just hold that thought and please just work on this, because you'll be opening doors to yourself and to your work. But the invitation here, and this is the work that Karen Prentice and I have been really working on in our new diploma, is how do we reclaim our creativity when our creativity is often seen as perhaps inconvenient, it's not really prized or valued in our professional education or perhaps our accreditation systems, in our schooling. And so this is all about bringing it back into our bodies and into the body of our work. And what Karen and I have found is that this is all about giving ourselves permission. It's giving ourselves permission to play, giving ourselves permission to go back into that childlike place, to have fun, to offer things lightly, to get out of our own way. And if there's a big takeaway message here, it's please just give yourself permission to have a go. The other thing is that I want to really offer you is, I just want to change this slide, if I know how to do that. Sorry, I might have to close that down. Okay, it's not working for me just now. But what I want to also offer you is this idea of the work before the work. How do you warm up? How do you get ready? Because it's almost as if we have to create the preconditions for ourselves in order to move into this space. And it's almost as if we have to host our own creativity in order to host the creativity of others with our clients. And for me, and from what I've noticed, is that nurturing our creativity is an inside job. And there are many, many ways that we can nurture our creativity. But what we have learned is that we cannot command ourselves to be more creative. We cannot command others to be more creative. We actually have to invite people into the space. And that was a big lesson that we've really learned. And so how do you choose to invite yourself and your clients into the space of creativity? And so for the rest of the session, having just set the sort of big picture, I want to invite you into a couple of practices. And the first practice is one at looking at how we need to connect with ourselves in order to connect with others, in order to move into this beautiful creative space. And the second one is around how do you free yourself up? How do you move into the flow? How do you move into the dance? And this in my book is called The Prelude. This is about getting ready to do the work and the work before the work, which is so important. And if we look at dancers or athletes or musicians, they all do warm-up exercises before they actually go out and perform or go onto the stage. Why would we think that's any different for us as coaches when we're doing this beautifully delicate, intimate, exquisite work with another human being and with another human soul? So it's almost as if we deserve to give ourselves the warm-up and the connection as an act of respect to ourselves, and also as a act of respect to our clients. So the first practice I want to invite you into is just connecting with yourself. So if you just kindly, wherever you are, just getting yourself comfortable and putting your pens and paper down. And I know these grounding exercises are very popular within your organization. So I just invite you to easily move into your grounding and your centering, and closing your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And then just very gently connecting to your breath. And as you feel yourself come home to yourself, just start to connect to that spark inside of you. If you can't find your spark, nothing to force, nowhere to go, nothing to do, but just be here. Just see what's happening for you right now. It could be any shape or size or color. But as you connect to your spark, just inviting you to gently breathe your air into your spark. And feel your spark become bigger and warmer. Just keep breathing. And breathing into your spark. And again, more breaths, making it bigger. Making it bolder. Making it even audacious. And feel that spark spreading throughout your body. This is the flame of your creativity, ready to be ignited at any time. And it's just a breath away. And just relax into this sensation, these feelings. And then when you're ready, just a bow of gratitude to your spark, to your flame here, for reminding you that it is here and waiting to be ignited. Just a breath away, a bow of gratitude. as you come back into your space when you're ready. And then I just want to invite you to a minute's journaling from what you've just experienced. What does your heart want you to know now about your creativity? Just do some free writing. What does your heart want you to know now about your creativity? Just 10 seconds left. And just finishing off where you are, and perhaps circling one or two standout words in a different colour. Okay, so now we're going to just change the tempo a bit and just invite you to move around in your space and just breathe and do something completely different, as I invite you to take a clean sheet of paper, a blank sheet of paper and some coloured pens. So this is a energy-giving warming up exercise. I'm going to invite you back into your 3 or 4-year-old body, your 3 or 4-year-old self, that child fun part of you, and just re-engage with that person. And perhaps just bring to mind a question that you're holding, just anything, just briefly, just bring to mind a question you're holding. Now, you don't have to be an artist, there's no pressure here. And when you've got your question, just make a note of that on a piece of paper, another separate piece of paper. So on your blank sheet of paper, just holding your question in mind, but just letting go of it also, I invite you to doodle and scribble. Make any shapes, any lines on the paper. Don't let your pen leave the paper, but just do some scribbles, some doodles. Okay. And then invite you to take your piece of paper and just turn it upside down and around and just see what's coming out from what you've just drawn. Is there a shape? Is there something emerging for you? And nothing to force, nothing to happen here. And with different coloured pens, just turn the doodle into something. It doesn't matter what it is, just play with what you've created. Allow yourself to be surprised. Allow the unexpected. Nothing to overthink, but just have fun. Just 10 seconds more. Okay, pens down, pencils down, and just take a look at what you've created in less than 3 minutes. And so going back to your journal, I just invite you to write for another minute about what came up for you when you just did this exercise. There might have been some response to your question, and also what did you discover about yourself and your creativity? Again, just go with your heart and your gut. Just 10 seconds left. And then looking back on this piece of writing, possibly with another pen, just circle another 2 standout words. Again, going with your heart and your gut, your soul. And then with those 2 to 4 words, I invite you to write a promise to yourselves about you and your creativity and your relationship to your creativity. What's your promise now? And it would be lovely if any of you feel bold enough to share your promise to yourself in the chat box. It would be lovely to hear from you. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this very brief canter into the world of creativity. It's huge and it's vast and it's exciting. And I just want to invite you into this joyous space so you can really be all of who you are, and who you are is how you work and how you. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Elaine. I can see a couple of reflections coming through from Leanne and Amber and Robin. So it's lovely to read those. So if anybody else is happy to do that, yeah, thanks, David. Please do send them in. And thank you for those exercises, Elaine. It was a really nice role modeling as well. And so much of what you were sharing, sort of connects with I suppose a lot of the experiences that we're meeting, because that whole bit around, meeting a client that's very much in that doing phase, as they come into the session, and actually how we prepared and present and available so we can, shift gears for them as well, I suppose. So a lot of what you were sharing was really resonating with me, and enjoying seeing some of these reflections coming through, actually.
Thank you. And it is such an invitational practice, and it's about giving ourselves permission and to offer it lightly.
Yeah.
There's no right and no wrong with creativity. it's a very permissive field to play in, and
Mm,
it expands our minds, which is why I was inviting you to go with your heart and your gut to bypass
mm,
our cognitive strategic brains, because there's plenty of time for that to come in
mm,
once we've crafted possibility and potential. But
mm,
we have to get out of our own way in order to play in this space, in order to co-create together.
mm.
I know your training programs are also all about, Damion.
Thanks, Elaine. And just if it's okay, so we've got a couple of minutes. I just wondered, if you could say a bit about your book, because again, I think it's such an incredible resource to have as a coach. I just wonder if you might say a bit more about, that book. Yeah, not because I know you've written a number, but that book.
Thank you. So this came out of my research. It went through 3 rewrites, because I realised I didn't want to write a traditional textbook about reflection and creativity, because there's loads of those around, and I really wanted to come at it from the practitioner angle around how to bring the marriage and the dance of reflection and creativity together. To go back to that point that I was making at the start, creativity is already in us. We are already creative. I am creative. And therefore, how do we really own that part of our work? And so in the dance, that is an archetypal change curve in many ways, and was inspired also by Otto Scharmer's Theory U and Kubler-Ross grievance, the Montessori. I was trying to put dance steps. So again, we hold it lightly. And there's no right and there's no wrong. It's just is, and it's being with the experience, and that we can actually have a go and get out of our own way. And I created 9 dance moves, and my book is full of about 200 different practices that I know people just open up for some inspiration. They've told me that online, and the feedback I've got, just for inspiration as well as practical practices when you might be feeling you want to do something a bit different and have a go with something. So thank you.
Yeah,
It was
wonderful.
fun writing it.
I'm sure. And for the coaches listening, who's connected with the whole piece of Theory U, it is a very practical way of really understanding that sort of shift that's happening as we go down the U. And also, Elaine, just say very briefly just about the work you and Karen are doing, because I do feel, from my own experience in terms of our conversations, it's quite an inspiring program that you're now offering coaches. So you okay just saying a little bit about that as well?
Yes, so we're now in our 2nd year, but Karen Prentice and myself, we're called Patterson Prentice Designs, and we've worked closely together for about 6 or 7 years now, and there's a meeting of hearts and minds and souls in what we do. And we managed to get a diploma, level 5 diploma, approved by the EMCC Global Accreditation, based on both of our books. So it's called Cultivating, from Karen's beautiful book on Nature's Way, and my book, The Choreographing of a Wholehearted approach to our creativity, and we call it Tapestry for short. But what I was sharing just now is just a little tip of the iceberg in terms of the journey that we go on with our guests, and it would be wonderful if anybody would like to join us. It's soulful, it's warm-hearted, it's gentle, and it's transformational. Thank you.
Thanks,
Starting
Elaine.
in November.
Yeah. And if anybody's interested, you can drop me an email and I can connect you with Elaine. So thank you so much, Elaine, for making the time today, and also for role modeling what you've just shared with us in terms of that ease and that playfulness and that lightness, which I think is so important. Just want to share with the group that our next webinar coming up is around inclusivity in coaching and looking at it from more of an internal coaching perspective. So that's going to be with Liz Palmer and Fiona Coghill and Charmaine Bucco as well. And that's on Monday, the 31st of October at 1 o'clock to 1:30 UK time. So I really hope you can join us again for that session. Anything finally you want to say to the group, Elaine, just as we bring the session to a close?
Embrace your creativity, and your soul will thank you, and so will your clients.